So our next speaker is Marc Moreau with Veolia Environnement.
Okay, thank you. So I'm Marc Moreau from the Veolia Environment Research and Innovation. And so as you probably know, Veolia Environment is a company involved in environmental services for cities worldwide with 4 main activities, which are water management, waste management, energy services, and for public transport. And I'm going to give you an idea of flavor of what we are doing around the water services and water networks. So what do we expect from water networks and water services? So basic requirements regarding water services, drinking water, is the availability of water and the continuity of service. There are countries where the continuity and the availability is still a challenge. We have just won a large contract in India. And in that country, people have water about 2 hours a day, and they keep the tap open with a bucket under it to get the water when it eventually flows. So the continuity of service is still an issue in many countries. And when you have the continuity of service, the people ask for quality. Once again, the notion of quality can vary depending on the countries. In some countries, they expect not to be sick within the next hour after drinking the water. In most Western countries, now people are wondering whether there are not micropollutants that may cause disease after 30 years. This is another notion of water quality. But we have to take it into account and to adapt our services to the different requirements. And regarding the wastewater services, well, all of us want to get rid of all this dirty water, and we expect the water to be treated, not to harm the environment and not to harm the people's health. A new and very emerging requirement is to use the water and the wastewater as a resource for fresh water, because you can recycle water, and also a resource for energy or a resource for material. Wastewater is full of organic matter. And we have a process which can turn organic matter from wastewater into plastic, for example. So now coming to our subject, how can ICT and information technologies help to overcome the disaster and to be resilient? I've chosen 3 examples to give you a small overview of what we could do of the kind of technology we are using. First issue is to face water scarcity and drought. The second is pollution or terrorist attack, and the third one is storm and flooding. I prepared my slides several weeks ago, so I didn't, but the actuality makes the last topic quite accurate. I'm not going to talk about networks design. Yesterday you had some presentation about modeling and cities modeling, and EDF mentioned a project we have with them to develop cities modeling, cities planning. With this kind of tools, you can design a rather reliable and resilient network. I'm rather going to focus on operation. How do we, on a day-to-day basis, use ICT to maintain and keep our systems running? We expect the water shortage to be to come more and more often. People so quite often mention the climate change, but the real issue is the fact that the cities are growing and that more and more people are converging in the same place. So we have an increasing pressure, and we have to manage the water resource efficiently. We have to save water as much as possible. One part of the deal is to have smart meterings, because it gives us an insight of the water's consumption, the consumption patterns. It also helps us to detect leaks by the customer, because during the night in the housing, the meter should stop. If the meter keeps running all night long, it means that there is a leak by our consumer. We are also using advanced technology with reverse modeling and sensors over the network to track the leaks, detect the leaks, and repair them as quickly as possible before we lose too much water, before the leaks cause damage to the city infrastructure. And our latest project, this is an ongoing project with European funding, is on resource management. We are working at a large scale on a whole area and deploying sensors and monitoring systems to monitor both quality and quantity of the different resources above ground and underground. And on top of that, we can build decision support tools so that we can manage, choose which resource we are going to use, which resource is under stress and is decreasing, and whether we can keep pumping water or not. Another example of problems that we're facing and is pollution, or even sometimes it has occurred already, terrorism or attacks which are directly directed towards the water network with a clear intent to pollute it and to cause disease or death. Considering pollution, we are deploying on our rivers and underground sensors and monitoring stations, which coupled with modeling tools can help us to manage the water resources. So when we detect pollution, we can estimate when the pollutant will come to our treatment plant, and then so we can either stop pumping the water if we consider that we cannot treat this kind of pollution, or we can increase or change the way the plant is working in order to get rid of the incoming pollutants. This is a typical application for the resource. And we have the same kind of services which can be extended up to the sea so that we can manage and forecast pollution on the beach. Many cities in the south of France on the Mediterranean Sea are interested in this kind of services, so they can warn the people who are bathing that the water is not clean and that they have to stop bathing. And over the networks, we have developed sensors. We had the opportunity to acquire technology from a startup in Switzerland, which gave us a very low-cost sensor for chlorine. And we have now an integrated sensors and developing a whole family of sensors to monitor, to real-time monitor the network. With advanced algorithms, we can detect the pattern of pollutants, detect pollution of the network, and then adapt our treatment, stop even the distribution if the case is really serious. A third example would be storm and flooding. So I'm not going to tell you about the kind of events you had in New York. I wanted to describe an easier situation because storms can cause flooding and sewer overflow. Because in some cities, rainwater is treated by a given network and wastewater in a different network. But sometimes they are all in the same, and then when there is a storm, a huge amount of water, we may discharge some of the mix of rainwater and wastewater into the environment, into the river. So we can, with a fine combination of sensors to monitor the level of combination of modeling tools and forecasting tools so that we can forecast the rains and storms. We can better manage the water, the wastewater treatment network in order to store the water or to process the water quicker before the storms come and before we are overflowed. Well, as a conclusion, some truth. As was mentioned, the fact that you put the smart word on top of something doesn't make it really smart. And do not expect from ICT solutions when the basic is not sound enough. First of all, you have to build and to maintain your assets. And no ICT will help you if you did not repair and replace your pipe in due time. Another question which was mentioned yesterday is what is the cost-benefit analysis? Here is a very rough estimate of the total cost of ownership of a measurement of a water network. I have more detailed models with the different kinds of sensors, that cost, and so on. But it gives you a good estimate. the total cost of ownership is quite heavy, quite expensive. And deploying this kind of solution everywhere is really a financial burden. And when you compare this with the cost, with the savings, assuming that you can get rid and prevent all damages, all water loss, all damages due to the leaks, all the pollution, all the disease, the financial balance is not obvious, not at all. I had access to all the data from the risk, from all the incidents we had on our network over the last year in France. And when you compare the cost of the damages to the cost of the investment over 5 years, it's not in our financial interest to do so. But our driver is not really cost, it's not really to earn money. It's a responsibility issue because we are an operator, we are providing services to the municipalities, and it is our responsibility to protect the asset, to protect the health of people, and to protect the environment. Thank you.